I suppose you want to start with the Prime Minister's letter?
Yes.
And
yes.
then we move progressively.
Yes, that's true. Okay, the Honorable Prime Minister letter said technical advisor on the implementation task force will be paid a consolidated monthly allowance of 70,434,000 shillings. Yeah, it is an allowance. And I have to tell that at this time when I came in as the consultant, government had a proposal from sections within the within Uganda who wanted to have the business plan prepared for a fee of $3 million.
Mr. Chairman, for the interest of time, just read for us figures up the end.
So 29th June 2028, consolidated allowance again when I became a task force member to Uganda Airlines, the same money, 7434 was carried out because I was a consultant. Extension 8th May, same terms and conditions. Acting CEO, 4th September, they added now, they put me on the payroll under PAYE, so they protected the 70 allowance, and it became 118,381,747. Yeah. Yes. Because they added the PAYE. Yeah. Otherwise, it's same terms.
You read that figure in full.
Yes.
For us, we are senior six leavers. One, what we don't understand. You
Yeah.
read for us the figures.
118,381,747.
118 billion.
Yes. Yeah. Reflecting, yeah, the taxes.
381,000.
Extension 19th February, same terms and conditions. The only time it changed again was on the 19th February 2020. 19th February 2020, that's when it became 126,065,454.
Come again?
126,065,454 on the 19th of February 2020.
Okay, that's
Chair.
126 million.
Chair, that money was coming from a baby.
Come again?
The money was coming from a baby. What will happen if it becomes an adult?
Chair, clarification.
Yes,
Chair.
clarification, Honorable Maneno.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair and members. Can he lay the document on table so that we also view it properly? Thank you.
So the documents you've been reading, are those originals or do you have copies?
These are originals.
Those are originals.
Yeah.
We would like to get copies.
Okay.
Yeah, would like to get copies.
Yeah.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Cuthbert.
Chair, executive process, or you are being headhunted for your, because it was not clear. When you became CEO, when you became technical advisor, did you compete with other people for those positions?
When I became technical advisor, like I said, I was appointed to the task force. I was not even in this country. I received a letter from the Right Honorable Prime Minister. I don't know the process that was carried out to arrive at my appointment. I was outside this country. So that's how I came in. I came in, when I came in, there was nothing like Uganda Airlines here. That's what I was explaining. There was no plan, no paper, no desk, nothing. I had to build the plan. I had to build everything, negotiate. Honorable members, this is not a small task. It is not. I was going into meetings reading a 300-page agreement on aircraft purchases on my own. We get to the meeting, nobody has read it. Do you know how hard it is to do this work? Now you have the airline there. I save you out of, yes, this is why, that allowance. Because this thing, somebody has to work to make it a reality. Somebody has to work to make it a reality, honorable members. I thank you for the privilege you gave me to do that. It is not every day that you get such an assignment. And that is why, for me, I took it very seriously. I could not allow shenanigans within the airline that would make it fail. It saddens me, even now, for me to have to go to court against the same airline that I formed. But you have seen the background to this issue. It was not my wish. It is very, very painful, because I did due diligence from A to Z, honorable members, and people have dug for over 1.5 years. They accuse me in the media. They have found nothing to say that I did wrong. I didn't take anything from the people of Uganda.
Honorable Chair.
Okay, let's pick another set of questions. Start at the back, Honorable Pius, then I'll move Honorable Hashim, like that.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Me, I would like to know from the former CEO, what is the current status of the case at the industrial court? That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Hashim.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have only two simple questions and just one complimentary. The former CEO said that there was a lot of vote, or totally just coming from out, because when people are talking about financial losses and others, I think the main source must have been from the auditor's report. So was some of those allegations, this bargain that you are talking about, is it the current CEO of CAA? We needed also to know that. I wanted to know that. Then, Chair, we need to compliment him. I want really to thank him for saving this money. You know, he saved the taxpayers' money. He said that one of them overstated 400 and
right to the appointing authority on what was going to take place, like this, over perturbing me to say that the person who was doing that again was appointed to be the CEO. Then another question is, he said that there were several people who were convinced that so director, how she was recruited. And can he also tell us, did she submit her documents, academic documents? Because when we were also asking the other one who were doubting the documents, whatever, can he tell us? Because by that time he was the CEO.
I'd like to bring my observation. Uganda Airlines, UNACL, is whatever it is a term generally. So we're saying the Uganda Airlines needs infancy in the past 3 or 4 years. Past guests, witnesses, and the ones of today are saying we shouldn't talk about it, but it's in infancy. Ask, a challenge, big challenge, and management style in your planning the business you're going to set up for Uganda. So did you plan that it's a termless there already made in our vocabulary in Uganda that in the first 5 years of an airline there's infancy, so you don't expect losses? Or did you look at it in a way that's scientific and say, now we're going to have this starting, how the system is running, getting rules and doing this, and maybe something happen, we need to have, these are risks. We may get passengers, we may not get partners, we may not get the routes. So in your lineup of work, do you think about having a risk manager so that would at least not have to look at IFAS as a norm in Uganda or in our business as a government, that we just go straight go and get our money going straight? Do you advise, did you think about it, or do you think it's necessary to have a risk manager so that and got here, next time we plan better? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, maybe we've
submitted by Mr. Mleya, the manner in which he was put out of the company was quite, for lack of a better word, quite illegal. So in labor cases, we always start with the Commissioner Labor, and as he already informed the committee, that we filed a case before the Labor Commissioner, and on account of the non-appearance and participation of Uganda Airlines, they made no show, not once, not twice, but 3 times. The matter was referred to the industrial court. As we speak now, the matter is going to be cause listed for appreciation. Good enough, we thank the government that there is now a new judge who is going to hear the matter, and by September, the first week, we shall be handling the matter, we shall be starting the matter. However, we need to also point out that despite being served with a copy of the complaint made in the industrial court, which was duly received on the 31st day of May 2022, Uganda Airlines has made no attempt to even respond to this. I don't know whether it is just the manner or the culture at Uganda Airlines, because all the correspondences that we've been filing or serving them have all gone unanswered. And we're well aware that they have a legal counsel, in-house counsel, quite a senior counsel, Mr. Viseriko, but we have not received any response from them. So we intend actually to persuade court to hear our matter ex parte, because the timelines given by the industrial court, which were incidentally 10 days, it is now almost coming to 4 months without no response from Uganda Airlines.
Honorable Chair, just a rejoinder. I want to know whether you still,
and one of the prayers that he made in the industrial court were when he was put on suspension, put on leave of absence, he never received money, and that money is totaling to around 189 million shillings. Then also the untaken leave, the payment in lieu of the notice, his repatriation allowance. He has already informed the panel, the committee, that is Zambian, but despite being gotten from wherever he was, he has never been repatriated, and that's why he's still here in Uganda. So those are some of the claims that we are seeking for in the industrial court.
Have fallen short in terms of proof. The Honorable asked whether Mr. Bagenda is the one at Civil Aviation. No. Mr. Bagenda, who used to be the first CEO when we started, is now the Director of Maintenance within Uganda Airlines. That's the position which he holds, and I believe he came to the committee earlier. Did I write to the authority regarding the issues that happened to these people? Like I said, we took the matter to the board. The board took the action to remove the individual from the company. In my communications to my principals, I always report on the issues, and I included it in my report to the principals, as was the procedure at the time. I think the Honorable asked that people are convinced that there was something wrong in the company. I think people are not convinced, but they made allegations, of which some were put on the documents I shared with the Honorable Chair, which were totally unsubstantiated, and we are just trying to find something. The impression I get is that the people wanted to get there, look at the record, and find something that they could use against us. Now the difficulty is they went there, and then they didn't find anything. So now it became a matter of let's look for something to try and pin these people down.
Chair, sorry, maybe clarity on that point. You told us that they found there was nothing wrong was going on. But when we look at the Auditor General report, there was some loss registered at the company, at the airline. Now, can you convince the committee? How can you convince the committee that really there was nothing going wrong, yet there was some losses registered? Are you telling us that these losses are not there? What is it?
Okay, effectively, losses is structure of how the company starts. You employ staff, you buy equipment, you don't have the aircraft are buying, you are coming, you have people, you pay rent, you are not earning income. So those are pre-operational losses. It's like that on any business. Even when you are setting up a retail business, you get that loss the first year and all the rest of it. So those are expected. Yeah, so the aircraft come, you have to spend money on pilots, training, bring engineers, buy spares and everything. So you are spending without getting enough money to pay for all your expenses. So what you have to do to reduce the losses is what we are talking about earlier. You have to act on your income generating capacity. What is your income generating capacity? It is the opening of routes to those destinations which will bring you payback and money. And that is why I said the company has not opened those routes according to the program that was agreed. When they do, the money will come in and the losses will reduce.
Yes, Honorable Hashim.
Honorable has just asked. These allegations, you know, we didn't. Are those allegations related to the losses in the airline is very much well known for losses every other financial year. The allegations that has led to his maybe removal from the CEO's office and so forth.
Honourable members, most of us are worried about the losses, and we've been told since and that in your perceptive analysis, when you're planning for this, after something, not losses for our airlines, after how long had you predict should have some money, not losses? Maybe in your graph it was good losses, as you're saying, for these weeks. The GDP is getting from the airlines. That's scientific now.
Okay, I see.
To find out, according to his explanation, is that the auditor is on the money which was complaining that they incurred in setting everything until the out was really, explained clearly. The query is concerning the interest or the money which was expended by the company. It is not that what you put in expense when you are setting the company. I don't think the explanation is right. That
you were suspended on 21st May.
April 2021.
Okay. But before then, you had been CEO for how long?
Yeah, for at least a year and a half.
At least a year and a half. Okay, so some of you were CEO.
Yes.
The Auditor General's queries. So I think that's what they are alluding to.
Okay. Maybe I can look at that and see which one it is that we are addressing. I'll address it.
Have you looked at a copy of the Auditor General's report?
Yes, I have.
That's number 5 according to the report.
Honorable, when I looked at the Auditor General's report for this year, I was saddened to see that the opinion not qualified. That's the first thing. And it was qualified because people didn't do a stock take at the year end, which is counting what is there and verifying that the value in the accounts is there. So I don't know why that was done. That should have been done on the 30th of June 2021. It's easy to organize. You call the auditors and you count all the spares and you assign values to them.
Who was meant to do that?
The management was meant to do that. I was not there at the time because I had left in April. So that is the first thing. So my comment on that this should have been done because it's easy to do. You go to the stores and you make sure that all your spares are in a darkened row and you show evidence of valuation.
And then the long outstanding payables, 47 billion?
Long outstanding payables.
That's the one before?
Yeah, long outstanding payables, I don't know, because at the time that we left the airline, there was a lot of cash in the bank. And the statement can show that we, if I'm correct,
order colleagues,
if I'm correct, we had over $30 million in the bank account at the time we were leaving, so it should have been enough to pay.
How did these payables accrue?
Yeah, payables is in the course of the business.
No, I mean these particular ones.
These particular ones, I don't know because there is no listing and I don't have records as at now. This is one of the issues. I'm looking at it, I have no access to the company, I don't have records. But payables are mainly creditors. So there would be people who would be supplying you with either spares, with fuel, with catering, with ground handling services. Those are the normal payables that you would normally have in an airline.
Would you say at the time you were in charge, procurement regulations were followed to the letter?
At the time we were in charge, I remember the first procurement audit we had. The issue that was there was the question of appointing contract managers. Because what we were doing before, from the time we started, was the head of department was the contract manager. So when that was pointed out, we started appointing contract managers. That was the major issue on procurement. The other issue that was there was the fact that the auditors were reconciling between the procurement procedures as per government and our accredited procedures, of which we had a dispensation which we obtained from the beginning. So there are those differences where we are applying accredited procedures and they are auditing us on the basis of the procurement regulations.
There's an item 10. There was a purchase of a vehicle for South Sudan office through direct procurement.
Yes.
Why was that? This was a total of 103 million.
Yes.
You know, and you people decided to do direct procurement as opposed to competitive bidding.
Yes, this was an issue which caused the then procurement manager to be transferred. For me, I had wanted him to be removed because it's one of the issues I was not satisfied with. So in the end, with the agreement of the board, we transferred him to a lesser position in the engineering stores.
Who was that?
The gentleman was Mr. Moses Wangalwa.
Moses who?
Wangalwa.
Wangalwa. What position was he holding?
He was procurement manager.
Procurement manager. So you're saying you wanted him fired because of this, but the board decided, let's just demote him. How was that? Did you have a board meeting? Did you write to the board saying, I would like this person to be fired? Then the board says, no, let's just transfer him or what?
Yeah, we discussed the matter and we were trying to find a position. Part of it is training sometimes. So the view was taken that he needed to be trained, given a chance to excel in another position. So it was resolved that way. But it was an anomaly, even though when we compared the prices were within no. That was saved. Because the price that was paid was still within the prices that the other vehicles of the similar make and year were also paid. And that was adequately explained, so that's what saved the situation.
There is a table, summary of key outputs. It says rehabilitation of upcountry aerodromes, 18.6 billion. Then purchase of motor vehicles and other transport equipment at 539 billion. What was that about?
Honorable Chair, I'm not sure what that is. I know the first part is for CAA, so it's not for the airline. But the second part, as far as I know, during that period, we did not target to purchase so many motor vehicles. So I'm not sure what that relates to. I would have to have sight of the documents to see what it is. I can only assume maybe it happened after my tenure.
Did you, as CEO at the time, interest yourself in having a staff structure in place and then a salary structure for the airline to be efficacious?
Yes, Honorable Chair, because right from the word go, if you look at the business plan, attached to the business plan itself was a salary structure and organograms. So it all started from there. The interim board were working from that same document. It was adopted by the interim board. That's the guidance that we are getting when we are recruiting and when we are putting people in several positions.
But the Auditor General is saying it's non-existent. Is it that it was not implemented, it remained in a plan somewhere?
I'm not sure what has happened, because all this, we had several board meetings and board minutes to deal with that. Even the time when we transitioned the structure to accommodate the coming of the A330, we had many board meetings on the organogram, which brought in other elements like Chief Operating Officer to manage the structures, and also training individuals within flight operations to add to the structure that we already had in the beginning. So all of these were part of the deliberations at the board, and they were adopted then through the HR committee, and they should be available at the company.
You mentioned a little about procurement, and there are other issues to do with procurement. When you go to 7, there was implementation of unplanned procurement activities. That's point number 7. That was to a total of about $7 billion. There were different figures. There were euros, 1.1 million euros, there was Kenyan shillings, US dollars, and so on. If you do a tabulation, that comes to about 7 billion Uganda shillings. Number 7. No. Page 15, according to my document, but number 7, point number 7.
The items mentioned on page 9, which was the procurement of spare parts for the Airbus fleet. That's how I thought that one related to, because I think when they were buying spare parts for the Airbus fleet, there were areas where they had to make sure that they order seats for the aircraft to come with the seats installed. And then the paperwork, I think they had not done the paperwork in the original planned activities for procurement for that year. They had missed it out. Again, I would have to defer to the details of the documents, which I don't have. But that's how I read it, because that was also problematic, because you order according to the manufacturing schedule. And if they tell you that, okay, you have not ordered enough seats for this section of the aircraft, then you have no choice but to place an order and do the paperwork later, because if you wait, then that manufacturing process will come and there will be no seats delivered by the independent party who is supposed to take them there. So that's how I read that one.
But wouldn't these have to be done again within the rightful procedure? Because when you look at 8, yes, it talks about procurement without contracts committee approval.
Now that one, for us, there was a contracts committee. I know that when we left, that contract committee was disbanded. Maybe that's why they got into these issues. But otherwise, before that, we had a contrast committee and everything was going through them.
Yes, Honorable, you want to say something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, the standard currency in procurement, I think that is the query.
Actually, I think it's more about the amount, because different currencies could be that these items buying from Kenya, buying from Europe, and so on. I am more concerned about the total figure. Ultimately, that's the billion shillings. So regardless of where it gets to be bought from, but that it wasn't planned, this aircraft must have A, B, C, D, as opposed to let's first have it, then we imagine, oh, we needed this.
Honorable Chair, who has the documents, and I think it's maybe intimately involved in these issues. There is accounting explained that a company acknowledges an oversight in updating the procurement plan in accordance with Section 58(5)(7) of the PPDA Act, which was occasioned by the suspension of key staff in the PDU and the remaining staff concentrated on completing ongoing procurements to avert crisis. So I believe that's what happened. So when the staff were sent on leave, they were managing by crisis, so these things were omitted. So it doesn't relate to the period of my tenure.
Had you encountered the issue of void tickets?
No, because we had a revenue accounting structure to prevent that. Unfortunately, because when we started, we put in interim systems which are capable of being implemented within 6 months to allow us to fly and grow. Those ones were being replaced by these structures I was explaining to you about, which is the Amadeus Altair suite, which has to provide integration between sales, flown revenue, departure control, and revenue accounting. So to compensate for those void tickets, we had a revenue accountant whom we had employed, a consultant from South Africa called Zarina Scott, who was monitoring the ticket usage to avoid the void tickets and reuse of the same ticket over and over again. She was able to recover within the period of 1 year more than $1 million in this type of fraud. When we left office, and this is one of the allegations that was put to us, that we had a ghost worker from South Africa. And yet we employed that person, they went through vetting, and we agreed, and the work that they were doing was revenue accounting. So now, that person's contract was terminated when we left. There is nobody who was checking the revenue accounting structure for void tickets. Secondly, the system was not yet implemented to close the loop between sales and departure control, so that if someone comes with a used ticket already, the system can detect it and deny them boarding. So the board warned in their letter to the management at the time that please take care of these issues, because we told them you need to look after ABCD. I did see correspondence from the board to the management through the Honorable Minister talking about some of these issues. Unfortunately, the person was dismissed. I hope they have put somebody else or a structure to do revenue accounting. Otherwise, people will continue reusing void tickets and the airline will be losing money.
So just explain that a little more, because you're saying when you people hired someone, they capped the fraud to the tune of about $1 million, according to what you're saying. What fraud was happening and how exactly?
Yeah, effectively, when people are selling you, the agents and everything, they will sell you on the fare that they would like, and yet you have specified a fare. So those people owe you the difference. So you have to have someone analyzing all the agents to see what they are saying and all that. And secondly, when people have issued a ticket and maybe they have refunded, the refund value has to be the correct value according to your rules. If you are retaining the service fee, it must be retained and remitted to the airline. So that the money that you're supposed to earn on each ticket that is sold comes to the coffers of the airline. Otherwise, people will do anything to further their business and pocket all those differences. So this is what this person does. And secondly, they audit to see that the sequence of tickets that you have is the same, you're not missing any tickets in between. So if you have 1 up to 10, the entire system for that station, their allocation of tickets must account for all the inventory given to them. If it's missing, then they bill them. So that is what revenue accounting does. It audits all your sales, and secondly, it reconciles. When the ticket has been flown, it has to be cancelled for use for future. If it's not cancelled in the system for use for future, the person will come again with the same ticket and fly to the same destination. So your revenue accounting must make sure that it is called ticket closure. After you fly, you must close the flight. So all the stations must be closing the flights, the tickets after closure, after flight. So what people do in many stations is that the flight goes, they don't close that ticket in the system, which allows them to collect money from a passenger and reissue that ticket in another name. Without that revenue accounting discipline, that goes and makes sure that each of those are closing those tickets. You'll be losing money left, right, and center. So you have a number of void tickets where people have misused it. These are the controls that you build to make sure that the organization gets its due and it's able to get the revenue that is designed.
Are there any people, any staff that you people ever caught that were involved in, this void ticketing thing?
We caught people in Nairobi. I think in those ones were disciplined.
What happened? How did you handle them?
It was caught by the same revenue accountant. She noticed that there were issues with tickets out of Nairobi, and then the staff were confronted. The staff admitted it was to the tune of $21,000 that they had committed fraud on, and at the time that we are leaving, there was a disciplinary process going on for those 3 staff.
What happened to them eventually?
I don't know now because I have not had access to the company, but my view was that they were going to be dismissed.
So the disciplinary process started when you were on your way out?
Yes.
And these people do these things without the aiding of management?
They shouldn't be aided. Management is there to protect. So I can't envisage a situation where a manager perpetuates that kind of thing. Like I said, we have had experience. Like I said, we had supervisors in certain stations where we felt that they had not done due diligence, and we removed them from those stations. So I don't know to what extent managers were involved in this case, but the staff admitted to the issue and disciplinary action was being taken against them.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable
thank you, Chair. Through your Chair, when he's talking about this ticketing fraud and stuff, when I wanted to some elaboration on the risk management that plan in the conception. I mean, that's part of it. If it was known this would happen, it's not happening. It seems you're in the know as a management leadership. Why did you not early in itself, before you in the concepts plan for this as risks that we wouldn't have to go through the losses you're mentioning? That's part of the risk management plan for early enough that we block out and we make, we go shh for our economy. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, that's exactly what we did. We put those structures in place. That's how come we employed revenue accountants. We had systems to make sure departure control. But people always try to go around the system if they can get away with it. In this case, they didn't get away with it. The broader aspect that we did was we didn't want these small systems for an international airline, because when you go international, you can imagine people are selling tickets in Japan, in South Korea, all over the world. So you need a global distribution system, which is why we purchased the Amadeus Altair suite, which is capable of closing the loop through integration. Even that suite, when it's fully implemented, once you put the bag on the weighing scales, it records the value and what you're supposed to pay if you're excess. So you can't negotiate with anyone. You have to pay that amount because it's already recorded in the system. So that is why we needed that to be fully implemented. And I hope that my colleagues at the airline have done so, because that's what will protect the airline.
Okay, are there some other questions you were responding to? Had you covered them all?
The last one was by the honorable member, which was the question of infancy and risk management. We tried in the plan to do that. Infancy comes because there is a gestation period for systems to be fully implemented. And then secondly, there is a period within which routes can actually be opened. So if you have a program to say you open for this year a route every 2 months, so you can only open about 6 or 7 routes out of the 20. So effectively, each year you have to see on the program. What we were doing at the time that the aircraft came was harmonization between the business plan and NDP3. So we had a project with NPA where we are going to harmonize the business plan with the outputs through NDP3. So that is a live project which I'm sure my colleagues are doing at the airline, and it includes this risk management issue on how fast we can do things to cover the business plan which will allow for payback to come in. I think that is the last question that I had not addressed.
Now, a little back to at the initial stages, this gets to be incorporated as a company. What did you envisage as a team? Who had the powers to do what? I don't know if you understand the question.
Yes, I do. The structure was that it is a limited liability company. So it would have the shareholders who would meet under the Companies Act. There is that structure. That's the governance structure. Shareholders who would do resolutions at the annual general meeting, or if there is anything extraordinary at the extraordinary general meetings, at the EGMs, to guide the board. The shareholders would appoint a board of directors who have oversight over the airline by looking after strategy, business strategy, employment of staff and key management staff, and looking at the performance of the organization, including their responsibility under the accounting principles for the oversight of the organization in terms of controls, which are articulated clearly in the Auditor General's opinion, as you would have seen in his preamble. Those are the responsibilities of the board. The board has to appoint a competent management team to do the day-to-day operations. People who are skilled to be able to do that. So each of these have got reporting lines. Management reports the board reports the shareholders. And they operate through resolutions to guide and direct management on what to do. The Companies Act.
And the shareholders envisaged at the time were which ones, specifically?
The shareholders...
And then eventually take off.
Yeah, the shareholders, obviously at the beginning was Minister of Transport and Minister of Finance to have the shares. And then there was also discussion on whether the investment arm of government could be used to achieve that, which was Uganda Development Corporation. So the talk was around those three.
So eventually on kicking off, we understand the shareholders were now 2.
Yes, indeed.
So how was that meant to operate? Who represents the shareholders? So Ministry of Finance. Is that the minister? Is it the ministry? We want to have a good understanding of what you people had in mind as you were rolling out with all of this.
Yeah, the one representing the ministry is the Honorable Minister in place at the time. So the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport would hold the shares while in office on behalf of government, 50%. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Economic and Development Planning would do the same while in place. But of course, all directions would come through either in annual general meeting or an EGM.
So who attends an annual general meeting?
The annual general meeting is attended by the shareholders and the board and management.
So you have 2 shareholders attending the annual general meeting?
Yes.
For that matter, the minister on this end and the minister on the other end?
Yes, indeed.
Where, in the plan, where was the Ugandan catered for? I know, yes, these are ministries funded by taxpayers' money, but I'm just trying to think broadly that we can say this is a national airline. It's going to have 2 shareholders, ministries, each represented by 1 minister. So, Minister of Finance, Minister of Works and Transport, for the 2 shareholders, it's not making sense to me. I'm trying to make sense of it.
No, they are holding on behalf of the government of Uganda. So it's on behalf of the people of Uganda. So once the airline matures, the envisaged structure was that then these shares would be listed on the stock exchange. And remember, for the national airline to retain its national airline status, at least 51% of the shares must be in the hands of either the nationals or companies incorporated, Ugandan companies, or pension funds or whatever it is. So that is what you need in the structure. But before you mature, you have to start from somewhere. It's a government investment. So government must hold the shares so that it is 100% owned by government, and then they can divest as the organization matures to give opportunities for Ugandans to invest in the same business. So that's the structure that was there. So the vehicle which government uses to invest can obviously be structured differently. That's why it was envisaged that either the ministries hold or you could use another vehicle such as UDC. Those were the talks.
Now, the company's financial statements, that's for 2019-2020, reflected a total of 817.26 billion as equity funds due to shareholders. But this amount comprises of 1, share capital of 200 million shillings, and then share application funds of 934.84 billion, plus of course retained losses of 117 billion. But when you review this, that means government had injected 935 billion, but only 200 million continues to be shown as share capital, in the books of the airline. So the rest of the amount, it's hazy, because that would mean that the company does not recognize the government investment.